energies are amping up on Earth, and we're starting to need help in every area, every angle of what's going on. And I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail tonight. So the Soul Warrior Network is a transformative community, people who know that they're meant for more. Okay, that's where we're going to start. And so I'm going to open it with a credo. And this credo kind of represents everything we're about. Do you really think and believe that millions of evolved souls would say yes to come to Earth just to die in a totalitarian new world order? Absolutely not. We came to flip this world upside down, back to its original state, and more. We came here for the new Earth, for world peace, for the immortal golden age, for a new Eden. We came here for nothing less than to send a wave of light and love across the universe, signaling the birth of a new order of divine justice, peace, compassion, and love. And that drives everything that we do inside the Soul Warrior Network. You're not a victim. You're not at the whim of the world. You're a creator. And it's guided by me, Jeffrey Wilson. And I am a master healer, teacher, and coach for over 15 years. And I've helped thousands of people worldwide break through limitations. And I do that by clearing what's holding them back and getting rid of the energy that gets in the way. And then what happens is they end up creating a life they truly love living. Keep in mind that every person here has made a choice to stop settling, or otherwise, why show up and give up your valuable time for the work that we're talking about and we're going to do tonight? And that's not small. That's everything. You have to reach a point in your life in this world at this time where you're done settling and you decide to go for it. One thing about this group is that there's no judgment. This is a safe space. There's no judgment and it's just growth. And that's the objective of everything we do. And typically the way it rolls is I do some teaching, and then to bring home the point, we're going to do clearing, which makes that teaching available to your field and then helps that information integrate. And then you go on about your life and watch how life changes. And that's through the energy work that we're doing. So this is a combination of metaphysical teaching and energy work. And when those two things are combined, it makes for a powerful combination for growth and transformation. Okay. So let's talk first of all, why are you here on this earth at this time? And there are two reasons. There are two big reasons. And it may seem separate, but they're very much integrated to each other. And that integration point is you. So number one, it's to learn lessons and progress through your own path. You decided I'm going back to Earth at this time. I'm going to learn A, B, and C. I'm going to go through these experiences. So you've basically set goals and things you want to achieve. And for some people, they may have that knowledge and wisdom already on their timeline, and they know what they want to be when they grow up. They know what they want to do when they grow up. Those are great. There are other people out here that are just kind of meandering through life, wondering what's going on, and they've tried to change, you know. Maybe they've read the books, they've done the courses, they've made the vision boards, and yet something keeps pulling them back into their old pattern, their old way of being, their old thought forms that they've been blocked by their whole life. Basically drawn back into the same patterns of existence. What that results in is the same results. You get the same thing over and over and over, maybe in a different package, maybe in a different form, but you just keep living the same life over and over and over rather than progressing and moving forward in your life. So you end up with the same version of yourself you were trying to leave behind, even though you've done all this magnificent work and you've done all this magnificent education, attempted transformation, on and on and on. Okay. You were born free, but you were born into a world that pushes you down at every turn, that steps on your neck, puts a boot on your neck, keeps you disabled in a lot of different ways, and fools you and gives you false narratives and false belief systems and so forth. So we're born free and we can feel it at some level and we know something's not right, but we can't put our finger on what it is. And we're going to do that tonight. We're going to put our finger on what it is and what gets in the way of you truly being free. And that is, why are you here on earth? And there are two reasons, two big reasons. Um, Number one, like I said earlier, is to learn lessons and progress through your own path. So you've set goals before, you've tried to change. Maybe you've read the books, done the courses, made the vision boards, and yet something keeps pulling you back to the same patterns. Keep getting the same results, the same version of yourself. And it's the version of yourself you were trying to leave behind, but it follows you wherever you go. Most people just assume the problem is lack of discipline, maybe lack of strategy, maybe lack of willpower, or all three of those: discipline, strategy, and willpower. But what I want you to understand, that there's more at play than meets the eye. And the biggest thing I want you to understand is that you're not broken and you're not lazy. You're not broken, you're not lazy. The problem isn't what you think it is. Tonight, I'm going to show you what's actually going on and why everything changes when you address the root of the root of the root, the problem, which is your energy field. And like I said earlier, um, you come into this world whole, perfect, and complete, and then the world impinges upon you. Or you're born into a family of origin that may not nurture you the way you need to be nurtured. You go to a school system that's more about dog training than it is education. You go into a religious system that's more about dogma than it is any kind of spirituality. And all those things grate on your soul. They just wear away at you because at some level you know you're not hearing the truth, but you don't know where the truth is. You don't know what the truth really means yet. And then you can get stepped on. Life happens, and you go through things that cause shock and panic and trauma, and that gets stored in your energy field. And that's what we're going to talk about right now, is your energy field. So this on the left is a standard body mind field complex. This is what your energy field looks like. Everything is energy. Energy is impressed upon matter, and you are matter. And so over here, if you came in and everything was handled for you, everything was taken care of, you were not presented with any kind of shock or panic or trauma, this is what you look like. So down here you have an earth chakra that anchors what's called a central channel, which is what this black line is a central channel, which is a line of energy running up to the creator of all that is. And this line serves as your fueling station, or as your gas, if you will, for pulling off what you need to pull off. So beautiful gold light of the creator comes from source down through this central channel, feeds into your body mind field complex. Now, this represents the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, the causal body, the astral body. There's many, many subtle bodies that makes up your body mind field complex. And this is a healthy one. You can see it's connected into the earth chakra. You can see it's connected into the appropriate high self, which is you in energetic form. And I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here and touch on something. The reason we're here on this earth is to take these two pieces and move them closer to one another and actually merge the authentic self with the body mind field complex. That's what's known as ascension. Ascension, for a lot of people have the misnomer that ascension is leaving this earth plane, changing to another reality, moving from 3D to 5D. Some ways it is, but ascension really means the integration of the appropriate high self, you in energetic form, with your physical being and your mental, emotional bodies. And then that gives you more power and more access to your sovereignty, your divinity, your consciousness, all the pieces that make you up. So this is the way the field should work. And then you're powered by source, infinite energy, infinite supply. And so this doesn't run out. And you can have energy until the day you leave this world. The body can be built, rebuilt, healed, recovered until you leave this world. We're not supposed to get aged and decrepit, but that's a field that's intact. Unfortunately, the vast majority of people in this world are not on this side of the equation. They're on this side of the equation. And why is it different? This is a person that came in and was possibly sexually molested as a child, which builds a prison around somebody's field that they have no idea even exists. This person came in and was brutally abused by their family of origin, and they were treated poorly, and their self-esteem was destroyed, and their self-worth was destroyed. And so that's why you see these breaks in this field. It's not nice and pretty and colorful like this one is. It's broken, shattered, and cracked. And so when the energy comes down the central channel, it just leaks everywhere. And so that energy can't be focused. And when that energy can't be focused, you can't make progress in life. You can't get the things done that you need to get done. You can't build what you need to build or what you desire to build. And so you have these dreams and these goals, and they never quite manifest. They never quite happen. And that goes back to what I said earlier about you might have done all the books and you might have done all the courses and you might have done all the training and all the personal growth, but nothing really holds. Nothing lasts. You walk out and you're buzzing for 24, 48, 72 hours, and then you go back to being the way you were before. And that's because this energy doesn't build in here, it leaks out everywhere, and then you lack focus. As opposed to this over here. Energy, infinite supply. On this side of the equation, this individual's field has been plugged into something that is not source, and it is usually inside the matrix of this earth, which means by definition that the energy source that they're supplied with or to or by is finite. Finite. This is infinite. This is finite. Now up here, it could be a God with a little g. It could be a deity of some sort that they're connected to, or even something completely different that they're connected to. But they are getting their energy from somewhere because we need energy to survive. This is infinite. This is finite. The other problem over here on this side of the equation is that a lot of times you do not have your appropriate high self. You have an inappropriate high self, which is put there to sabotage you. And so your intuition is off. Your gut feeling is not right. Or you make really, really, really poor decisions on a routine basis, and you blow up your life on a regular basis. That's this side of the equation. Also over here are breaks in the central channel, which leaks energy out as well. So this is like a sieve over here. You just leak energy out everywhere. Over here, it's focused, and you get determined and you get focused and you pay attention to what's going on. Over here, you're just holding on. You're struggling. You know, life is tougher than it has to be. Over here is flow. Over here and abundance, flow and abundance. Over here is lack. Okay. And so this central channel, when it has breaks in it, which are caused by shock, panic, and trauma that has occurred to you, typically as a child, but it can also happen as a teenager or a young adult or even middle age. It breaks that central channel and then stops the flow of energy. And then that's why you end up with a field that does not repair itself, that does not recover itself, and life is harder than it has to be. Life really feels like a drudgery, and you wonder, why in the hell are you here? Why'd you show up this time? Okay. So over here, people tend to be ungrounded. They tend to have low energy or low vitality, and they don't feel like they belong in this world. And they have a low grade depression about their existence, usually. And it's been there for so long that most likely they don't even know that they have a low grade depression. And so the way this energy is supposed to flow is energy comes down from the creator, comes into your field. You take from it as much as you need to rebuild, recover, and rejuvenate. What you don't use goes into the earth chakra. And then from there, it turns around. This is a two-sided channel, and the energy goes back up to the creator. And this is a continuous flow of energy, a continuous circuit of energy. Over here, this continuous circuit doesn't exist because of the breaks in the central channel. And when that central channel is broken like that, that's where you get that low grade depression or even anxiety from that. Over here, this is a person that's powerful, that's able to manifest, that's actually able to create their reality and create their response to the world. Rather than just react to the world, they get to create a response to the world. And sometimes that response is no, I will not be a spiritual doormat. I will not do as you tell me to do. I know better. That's sovereignty. That's divinity. That's agency. That all comes with this territory right here. Sovereignty, agency, and divinity. Over here, you're at the whim of the world. You just kind of roll along. These are people you see on their iPhones scrolling one thing after another, just getting one dopamine hit after another and wearing out their dopamine. And then eventually what happens at the physical level, because we are biophysical beings, at the physical level, they go into a deeper depression and a deeper anxiety. And they don't know why and they can't figure it out. But it's because their field is not intact. Okay. So that's what's going on. That's the problem. And so the clearings we're going to do tonight, we're going to do some repair work over here, and we're going to change the way you view reality. So that's going to be exciting. Okay. So how do we do it? Well, we use modality called vibrational healing, Phoenix Rising vibrational healing. And basically, you got to keep in mind that vibration is everything. Everything vibrates. It's the number one law of the universe. Everything vibrates. And what we do is the way this world is being recreated 23 trillion times a second. And it comes out of a block of ether and it turns into a quantum. That quantum creates particles, phantoms, or protons and atoms, which is then matter, which is you. So energy is impressed upon matter, and you are matter. So that's the process that we go through. So if you want to make a change here, things like therapy and personal growth and workshops and books and that kind of stuff work here. But nobody's touching here or back here or even back here. Why not go to the source of where the problem is, the original vibration? So how does vibrational healing work? You have the vibration of disease, for example, that's represented by the black line. You put in the other vibration, which is that of health or the counterwave of health. And then what happens is these two waves touch and they go to neutral. And so that's the way you can get rid of disease in the body. You have the vibration of trauma. The black line is trauma. You put in the counterwave of trauma. That goes to neutral and trauma disappears from the body. And then you have the vibration of fear. And then you put in the counterwave of fear, and then it goes to neutral. Fear disappears from the body. And so slowly, by getting rid of each one of these and a whole lot more, you move from this side of the equation to this side of the equation over time. You didn't get in this trouble overnight, and you're not going to get out of it overnight, but it's also not going to take months or years. So the objective is to move from this side of the equation to this side of the equation by using vibrational healing. There are some techniques later on that we'll get into as soul warriors, is where you can also go in and work on somebody's karmic lens and change the way their body is configured and change their reality and change their future by working back here at the karmic level. That's more than tonight's subject matter, but that gives you an idea of what's possible. Now, how is it possible? Well, I don't know how many people we have on here now. We have 63 people. So this is the way it's going to work. This represents these 63 people. And this is what I call a healing network. And that's why I was looking at the gallery. Everybody that's on the call tonight is now in this healing network that we're going to execute here in a little bit. So from my field up to the creator of all that is, down into your field via the healing network, we're going to transmit all these codes and frequencies to do the work. It's just that for right now, the way it's going to happen is through a healing network. I can work on 63 people just as easy as I can work on one person. And that's how we change the world. So that's what I'm talking about in a nutshell. That is vibrational healing. That is the core or the root of the root of the root of the Soul Warrior Network. So we're talking about metaphysical principles of your purpose, your mission, your reason for being here. And then we're going to do work tonight via this diagram that delivers that into your energy field. Okay. I know it's a lot to hit you with. You don't have to remember it all. You don't have to understand it all. You don't have to worry and go, "Oh my God, I'll never figure this out." You don't have to figure it out. This works whether you know it or not. This works whether you recognize it or not, because this is based upon quantum physics, ether physics. This works. So all you've got to do, show up and relax. I explained how life impinges upon you and can break your field. And if you're plugged into the wrong source, repair of that field doesn't happen. So you end up meandering through life with less than the amount of energy you need or is required for you to exist. So it can seem like gravity just keeps pulling you back. Like gravity keeps pulling you back to Earth. You keep getting stuck in existing paradigms and existing energy patterns that pull us back to average conditioned behavior. Average is over here. This is above average. Although this should be the norm, it's not. And that's why I'm here. And that's why soul warriors are here. And that's why we have a group of practitioners that are currently in a state of training in order to get people moved from average back to exceptional, because that's what your life is supposed to be, is exceptional. Okay. Most self-help, and I'm not knocking self-help. I used a lot of it when I was on my own path, but it works on the outside. And it gives you things like tactics and habits and strategies. Whereas my work, vibrational healing, works on the inside. And it's in the energy field where the real patterns live, where the real problem exists, where what I call the root of the root of the root exists. And this is why people can know what to do and still not do it. And that's because their field hasn't shifted, because they're on the wrong side of the equation. So imagine, if you will, driving a car with a handbrake on, okay? You can push the accelerator as hard as you want. You can add more strategies. You can add more hustle. You can add more willpower. But until you release the brake, you're going nowhere fast. And the energy field is that handbrake. Until it is connected back to the creator, until this line is solid and energy is flowing, you're going nowhere fast, right? So this isn't woo. I assure you, it may sound like it. It is quantum physics and ether physics. But this is the missing piece most people never address, never get to. When you clear the field, results come with less effort, not more. Okay? It's called flow. When you clear the field and your field is intact, results happen from a state of flow, not from working harder, not from doubling down, not from working more hours each week. It comes from flow. So the Soul Warrior Network is not another program about doing more. It's not about doing more. It's about becoming more, becoming more. Over the years, I've seen soul warriors. They come into the program, they sit with us day in or week in and week out, month in and month out. It's been a pleasure to watch them set their goals. And as they clear their field and build from a new energetic foundation, they develop some things. As you move from this side of the equation to this side of the equation, you develop unshakable confidence. And that's not from external wins, but from internal clarity. You get to develop an expanded vision. You can actually see possibility that you can never see before. Okay. So seeing what's possible beyond the current paradigm. They've developed inspired action. I've seen a whole lot of movement that feels aligned and not forced from Soul Warrior participants. So who are these people that you are now sitting in a group with? Well, they trust their inner voice before the external noise. That's important. They trust the inner voice before external noise. They refuse to be threatened into backing down. They will not back down. They know living from here, they are part of infinite source, infinite supply, as opposed to living over here, which is being part of this earth. Not in a good way. They've already made their choice. They're resourced with tools, which we give during the metaphysical portion of the training. And they're resourced with tools outside the mainstream to restore balance and vitality. So again, I want to emphasize y'all didn't end up here by accident. Something in you said yes to this. Trust that. Sign on to Zoom. Listen to this guy talk about vibrational healing. The work we're going to do tonight isn't just an exercise. It's the beginning of a real shift in your being, a real shift in your being as an individual. Now, let's talk about reason number 2 why you're here. There is a great ascension going on this planet. And there's a massive amount of energy, proton energy hitting the Earth. And it is going into the core mantle of the Earth and making her expand. And that's why the Ring of Fire is very active. That's why volcanoes are very active. That's why a lot of Earth changes are occurring. These Earth changes are basically triggering an upleveling and an ascension of our consciousness. When I say ours, I'm talking about humanity. And if you're paying attention, I hope you are, you may have noticed a split on this earth right now. There's a group of people that are becoming more alive, that are becoming more aware, that are figuring things out, that are raising their standards to a better life. They're actually transforming right before your eyes. And there's another group that is descending into darkness, that's doubling down on all the wickedness of this world. And you can see these two groups kind of growing apart. And that's what's happening. That is just, there's a hermetic principle of as above, so below. As above, so below. So this is the group that's moving into darkness. They're becoming more and more disconnected. Or what they're doing is they're getting connected into things like AI and iPhones and all that kind of stuff. This group is ascending and integrating. This is the group that saves the world, that saves humanity. Okay. So there's two groups. And it's begun. The process has begun. It began earlier this year, and this is 2026, and it will really pick up speed from here until 2030. In 2030, things really kick into high gear, and you're going to see lots and lots of serious changes in humanity. Why is that? What does that mean to you? Well, by you all being on this call tonight, that tells me you're one of the volunteers. You're one of the volunteers that came back to participate in the expansion of consciousness and the growth of humanity. Now, you basically, and don't take this the wrong way, you volunteered for a front row seat at the biggest clown show in the universe. And you got to admit, it is batshit crazy. Pardon my French, but it is crazy in this world. And you volunteered to come here and participate in the upleveling of humanity. Just by being on the planet, you are helping to facilitate this process. And you may know yourself as a star seed, as an indigo, as a sensitive, or whatever name you want to go by. You may not recognize any of those names, but the fact you're on this call tells me you are one of the volunteers, or you wouldn't have been called to this work. So in between now and 2030, I'm busy training practitioners to do the PRBH modality, to move from here to here, and to use all the techniques that I just talked about tonight. That's my job. That's my mission. That's my purpose. That's the reason I'm here, is to get as many healers on this planet as possible, as fast as possible, in order to help change the consciousness of this world. The earth really needs healers, and we need them badly. And 2030 is a critical date. Again, though, no pressure, because just by you all being here and being alive, you're participating in this event. Some people will choose to take it a little bit deeper. Some people will take it a little bit further. Some people will choose to, to get their hands wet, if you will. So you're a spiritual warrior. You're in a class called Soul Warrior Network, but I want to let you know right now, you're a spiritual warrior, and that has come back to Earth at this time to help with the transition of humanity. Why is that important? A spiritual warrior is an evolved soul who carries ancient DNA and memories where peace and harmony were the natural state of our being. These individuals possess an innate warrior spirit, an energetic suit of clothes they were born with that compels them to fight against injustice, abuse, violence, disrespect, the disconnection from spirit that plagues our modern world. And you can look around and see that everywhere. I remember a day when people used to hold the door for each other to get inside a building. That doesn't happen so much anymore. And it's these little things, these little indicators that point to bigger problems. But unlike traditional warriors who fight with swords and anger, spiritual warriors have undergone a profound transformation. They've evolved from the machete chopping warrior phase, where they react intensely to external injustices with bursts of anger and rage, and they've migrated to a higher state of consciousness where they channel their warrior energy through love, wisdom, and spiritual discernment. Okay. Spiritual warriors typically begin their journey experiencing intense, sometimes disturbing emotions as their ancient cellular memory awakens. And some of you, or probably most of you, have gone through a phase of this, maybe once or twice, or even 10 or 50 times. This anger stems from witnessing the degradation of everything they once knew to be sacred. That means watching people live without integrity, disconnecting from their own spirits, and perpetuating systems of harm on the earth. While this intensity can be challenging for both the warrior and those around them, it serves as the impetus for great change and transformation. The crucial shift occurs when they learn to dump the sword. In other words, releasing reactive anger and tapping into their higher, all-knowing self that operates from a place removed from reaction. I like to put it as you move from being reactive to responding. Very different distinction there from reaction to responding. These soul warriors discover that true change cannot be created through anger alone, but only through accessing their inner wisdom and spiritual power, which is hard to do over here, but very easy to do over here. Okay. So, a fully embodied spiritual warrior embodies basically what I see as 15 characteristics. One is they operate from love and compassion. Their action stems from love rather than fear or anger. The second characteristic is they've discovered their inner spirit. They know who they truly are beyond external identities. You come into this world, you're given a name, you're assigned to a family, you're getting a social security number, you're told who you are your whole life. And for a lot of people, that doesn't feel right, but they can't put their finger on it. The third characteristic is they're attuned to themselves as human beings. They understand their own nature and their own needs, and they're willing to stand up for that. Number four is they know their purpose. They have clarity about their mission in this lifetime. Now, some of you may have a deep, long, big, large mission like mine, which is to bring healers into this world, to create practitioners of the healing arts, not just willy-nilly, but actually give them the wisdom and knowledge and understanding that they need to be effective. Others of you may know your mission or purpose is something simpler, and that is just be an example to others. And that's cool. That all works. It's all part of the plan. We need both sides of that equation. Not everybody came here to do the same thing. Okay. Number five of the characteristics is they carry themselves with integrity. Their words, their intentions, and actions are aligned. They say what they mean and mean what they say. Six, feels fear, but doesn't let it stop them. So a true soul warrior will feel the fear of this earth because this earth is set up to induce fear in us 10 ways to Sunday. And that's the number one way of keeping people down is through inducing a state of fear. Well, the economy is going to crash. The industry is going away. We're going to have famine, all that kind of stuff. All those things happen. Don't get me wrong. But that doesn't mean you're going to be involved in them. That doesn't mean you're playing a part in that or that you have a role in that. So basically, people acknowledge the fear without being paralyzed by it. That's the key to a soul warrior. And then seven, they accept and love their dark parts. We all have a shadow side. That's the human part of us. We were raised by humans. We were raised by broken humans, and that broke a lot of us, and that damaged a lot of us. But if you accept your shadow side and your dark parts, you can work through those. And if you clear those from the field, even you can get through them even faster. And then you can live from light. And that's the ultimate goal, is to be a light being in a world of darkness, which is why you're here. So they basically embrace their shadow aspects with compassion and give themselves a break and give those around them a break. You know, it's like, well, hurt people, that old saying. Give people grace when they hurt you. Jesus used the words, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's a great credo to live by. That's a great credo to live by. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Doesn't mean to be a doormat. Doesn't mean not to set boundaries. It just means give people grace and love them anyway. Number 8 is they forge ahead despite obstacles. They persist through challenges with determination, which is easy to do when you're on this side of the equation versus on this side of the equation. Over here, when you persist through challenges, it's tough. This is a slug. Over here, it can be tough, but it's easier because you have connection to infinite supply, infinite source, and your field is intact. Your energy field is your most precious resource. And if it's broken, shattered, or cracked in any way, it makes for a tougher life. All right, number 9, they embrace connection with all things. They recognize their unity with the universe. This is not our home. Again, Jesus said, be in this world, but not of it. Be in this world, but not of it. It is not our home. This is not our final destination. Number 10 is they focus only on the present moment, which is a really, really cool place to be. What I refer to it as the ever-present now. And if you can find yourself able to dwell in the ever-present now, the monkey mind settles down, the chatter ceases. You can actually sit in your chair or wherever you're at in a state of peace. What this looks like is that they remain grounded in the now, not the past or the future. The past is a memory. The future is a dream. Life only happens in the ever-present now, which is right here, right now, in this moment. We are all sharing the ever-present now together. We are living the same moment. So it's important to live that way. It makes for an easier life. And then 11, they accept their intuition. They trust and honor their inner knowing. And 12, they are disconnected from life's drama. And that means that walk away from your iPhone. Walk away from the news. Don't be don't be watching TV all the time. Disconnect from life's drama. Get outside, go for a walk in the sun. Observe without getting tangled in chaos. Just observe the world without having to have an opinion about it. And 13, they put ego on pause to listen to spirit. Sit in that ever-present now, go into a state of peace, and hear what the Creator has to say. It's some pretty amazing spiritual guidance is available once you get past your ego desires. And then 14, they come from inner power. Their strength emanates from within, not external sources. That's here. Their strength comes from within, not the external sources. And so that's why you have access to infinite energy. And then 15, they are courageous. They're courageous without needing things like war. And they embody bravery without creating conflict. Stand up for the little guy. The ultimate purpose of spiritual warriors is to help restore peace, harmony, and balance to the planet. And they serve as bridges between the ancient wisdom they carry and the healing of our modern world desperately needs. Rather than fighting against darkness, they become beacons of light, using their sensitivity and intensity as guidance for where to focus their healing energy. Spiritual warriors understand that their anger is sacred fuel, and anger should not be feared. Sometimes anger is what's required to get you focused. Anger can be a compass pointing them toward what needs to be healed and transformed. They have learned to replace reactive anger with persistence and insistence and choosing their battles. And specifically choosing their battles wisely through things like spiritual discernment rather than emotional reaction. If you look at the world around you, you'll see that the vast majority of people are reacting emotionally. They're not choosing. They're not a choice. Spiritual warriors observe life as if watching a movie, basically maintaining enough detachment to see the higher lessons in every situation while remaining compassionate and engaged. It's very possible to do so. They have gained total control over their emotional responses, stepping off the roller coaster of reactivity to access higher and more expansive levels of awareness. They are the peaceful warriors our world needs. Individuals can hold both strength and gentleness, who can see through illusion while remaining grounded in love, and who can create profound change without perpetuating the very violence and disconnection they seek to heal. In essence, a spiritual warrior is someone who has transformed their natural warrior instincts into a force for healing, using their ancient wisdom and spiritual power to guide humanity back to its true nature of peace, just like the opening credo. Back to peace, integrity, and connection with all life. All right. We were all born free. We came here free. And then the world impinged upon us. And we got boogered up in a lot of different ways from a lot of different directions. And those days are coming to an end. By 2030, it will be in full swing. And so I invite you to join us in the Soul Warrior Network to get worked on every couple weeks, 2 weeks out of every month. But imagine a few months from now, imagine showing up in your life with completely different level of confidence. Challenges that used to stop you in your tracks, no more. You move through them with grace. Results that used to feel hard, no more. They start arriving with ease. You start living in flow. So as you leave here tonight, but I want you to remember the following and take this to heart and really take this to heart. The whole purpose of life is to liberate the soul that you really are. The whole purpose of your life is to liberate the soul that you really are. And you're doing it as a series of volunteers and spiritual warriors that have come to this planet to help out the rest of humanity. And as you move through your life and you up level, you cannot help but touch those around you. And you cannot help but change the world by being here. I say it in some of my trainings. It's like be who you came here to be, do what you came here to do, whatever that looks for you. And that will unfold. That will unfold quite naturally.